Oh, is it really 3 o'clock already? Yes, it is. Time for Pastor's Perspective. I'm Brian Perez, and we're ready to go. We're ready to answer the questions you have about the Bible, the Christian faith, just about anything that's on your mind. Maybe you were reading your Bible this morning, perhaps Proverbs 23, and you have questions about that, or heard something here on the radio or on some weird podcast on the internet. Yeah, we can answer those questions too. 888-564-6173 is the number to call, and that number is good until 4 o'clock Pacific time this afternoon. 888-564-6173. You can also watch the show on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. There's a QR code there that you can scan. That'll take you to the Pastor's Perspective page at kwave.com, where you can fill out the form that pops up, and that'll get your question to us. We won't see your question today necessarily, but we'll have it ready for another show. And if we do answer it on a future show, we will send you an email to let you know that we read it here on the program. Same with Facebook. If you use the Messenger on the Pastor's Perspective Facebook page, or if you DM us on the Pastor's Perspective Instagram, we'll get back in contact with you to let you know if we read your question. But our favorite way to answer your questions is when you call in to 888-564-6173. And answering your questions today, because I'm just about out of words, we've got Brian Brodersen and Phil Metzger. I think all of my allotted word count for the day is complete. But we've got Brian and Phil. They are here to give you the answers that you want. Brian is the pastor emeritus from Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. Phil is the pastor at Calvary San Diego. And Brian also leads echoesofmercy.com, plus the Calvary Global Network. Gentlemen, how are you? So good to see you. What's going on? Oh, come on. I'm out of words. Hopefully you guys have words.
Brian Perez, no more. You don't get to say anything else the rest of the show. You've been cut off, at least for the first half. The second half, we'll give you more words.
Yeah.
He's giving us thumbs up, so he's already listening.
Doing good. I spent the last 4 days in Charleston, South Carolina, and flew back up to New York this morning. So I am, it's only an hour and a half flight, which I really like. I like hour and a half flights.
You're not used to those because you're always traveling to
going
faraway locales. But
yeah. So anyway, I left 93-degree weather and came to, what is it now? It's 68. No, it's 68. It's not too bad, but it is a little wet. So
it's a big difference, though, from 68 to 93. Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, as Brian Perez knows, we're suffering here in San Diego at 75 degrees.
Yes.
And probably the same in Orange County. It's rough.
Yeah,
75. So today is Tuesday. Yeah, Phil, next week we're going to be together for the CGN Ministry Conference. Yes, going to start Sunday night. And we will be having a good time right on through Wednesday.
Yep, it's going to be a great conference. Great time.
It's not too late to sign up for that, Brian?
Not too late. No, I mean, you can actually register on site on the day. A lot of people do that. For some reason, people signing up for conferences, they really take their time about it. So, but you can sign up conference.calvarychapel.com, and we're going to have a grand time. It's going to be fantastic.
It's kind of like RSVPing. Do you remember when that meant, let us know whether or not you're coming? Now it just means, let us know you're coming. And it's just like, well, I'd like to know that you're not coming. I specifically invited you to my party, and I don't know if you're coming or not, but yeah.
Right. Yes.
Well, you guys know how they have like a day for everything in the world, like there's donut day and da. Well, in San Diego, today is Sunny Sandoval Day.
Really?
It is.
Is it his birthday or something?
No. But the city of San Diego, this was 2 or 3 years ago now, declared this Sunny Sandoval Day. And so we had a big party thing and all, and obviously knowing Sunny, he's so quiet about that stuff. But it's so cool. I mean, he's such a great representative of San
Totally.
Diego and
Yes.
of Christ, and it's so fun. So
Mhm.
I just was seeing on my algorithm, today is Sunny Sandoval Day. Yay!
How
That's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great.
What a coincidence. I just spoke with Ryan Reese earlier this morning. He didn't mention anything about Sunny Sandoval Day, but
Oh, Ryan, what kind of friend are you, Ryan Reese? What's happening here?
I'm surprised he didn't roll down into San Diego with a big old, whatsoever van and just
whosoever.
It's whosoever, not whatsoever.
right. Yes.
Hopefully Ryan's not listening to this right now.
I know it's whosoever. I don't know how I said whatsoever, but
That was pretty good. I'm going to send this to Ryan now because that was fantastic.
He would love that.
Yeah, he would.
Ryan's my buddy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He knows I love him.
He would love that. But yeah, it's like a fun thing because, obviously, everybody knows Sonny from POD, but what an amazing Christian guy. What a great evangelist. He's just what an amazing dad and husband. Such a good guy.
How do they celebrate it? What do they do?
Like all the other days, nothing, I guess, like donut day, you go eat a donut. Sunny Sandoval Day, you listen to POD. They'll probably, I'm going to a Padres game tonight. So they always play Boom at every home run. So that's
Okay.
that's probably how they'll celebrate it today. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
fun.
Maybe Sonny will be there, for.
You know what? He's on a tour. He's in Europe,
is he?
touring all these big festivals and all. So yeah, he's missing his day in San Diego.
I was going to say he could throw out the opening pitch at the Padres game or something, but not if he's out of town. It's not going to help. How fun, though.
So POD is still a thing. They're still going strong.
As strong as ever, Ryan. Seriously, they have a new album that's going to be coming out.
Amazing.
I had never seen them back in the heyday. I've only seen them recently and I got to tell you, man, we went and saw him on a Sunday night and he was at church in the morning and then, hanging out. And then he goes and does this concert. Yeah. This guy preached the gospel as much, maybe not more than I did Sunday morning.
Wow.
They're so popular right now again. And it's great. I'm so happy for it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the early days of, whosoever, because Sonny's like a co-founder, with Ryan and Brian Head Welch, that whole crew back those years ago. It was exciting to see. And it's really great to see them continuing on,
Yeah.
And like you said, Phil, just kind of stronger than ever. I listened to an interview with Lecrae the other day. And I really love Lecrae. That guy's awesome. And just to hear kind of just told, he's got a long story. I've read a couple of his books, but he kind of told a story about his season of sort of deconstructing and just kind of, getting disillusioned and sort of, drifting. And just the beauty of how the Lord brought him back was just so powerful, Loved it.
Love it.
But it's that whole genre of guys, that God's used in an interesting way. It's a really interesting season, isn't it? That so many artists, secular artists, are coming to Jesus and being really outspoken about it.
Love it. So
it's
cool.
fascinating.
It
Yeah,
is.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, including my favorite country girl right now. Her name is Ella Langley. She's everywhere, and she's just really being bold about her faith. So it's really encouraging to see that. I
read something from her today, and she said, I guess she'd been a Christian for a little while, and she said, I think for maybe the first year or so, she just hardly ever publicly mentioned her faith.
Yeah.
And then her follow-up comment was, and now I can't go anywhere without talking about the Lord. That's just, she's just fired up.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it.
Cool. Yeah.
That's so
cool.
encouraging to hear about, whether newer artists, but going back to like Sunny Sandoval and the POD guys and Brian Head Welch and Ryan. And in this time when everyone's deconstructing, quote unquote, and there have been a lot of Christian artists from the past who have, quote unquote, deconstructed and, come out as, living alternate lifestyles and everything. But then how do you stick with it till the end? How do you finish well? What would you guys say? What's the recipe for success, for lack of a better word?
Well, Brian's old, so I'll let him go first.
Yeah, you can tell by the way I look. I'm about finished.
Not at all, but that's
no. Perish the thought. No pun intended.
I mean, in my case, I think I just, I'm just still thankful that God saved me. I mean, it's like I was lost, and the Lord found me, and I never want to be lost again. It was a bad life, and it's been a great life. Not without its challenges and struggles, but living in a relationship with Jesus, I mean, you can't beat it. And just being able to open up God's word and have Him encourage you, have Him speak to you, have Him direct you, just to be used by God, to have had the privilege of going a lot of places around the world and, meeting people and leading people to Jesus. There's just nothing like it, and there's nothing better than it. So, I mean, for me, it isn't like a hard thing to stay connected. To me, it's a lifeline. I can't imagine being disconnected from Jesus.
Yeah.
So
some people might say, well, of course you guys are going to say that. You're pastors. If you guys deconstructed or walked away from the faith, you would lose everything. But we've heard of pastors who do walk away and then they leave their church in shambles, and not to mention their families and everything. Phil?
Yeah, I mean, so true. And I love what Brian's sharing there. I was just thinking about some of these guys, and we both have a lot of friends in that world of music or art or whatnot. And I think of again, just because I've been talking about Sonny, I think of guys like that. And I think they've reached a level of notoriety. I've never known, won't know, I'm good, but it's like a different level. And I see how grounded he is, literally how grounded. It's about him and his wife, about him and his kids. He's keeping really grounded to what matters. And, I got friends that are serving in military roles where you think so many guys give up their faith in that. I have it easy, man. I'm encouraged to talk about the Lord all day long. These dudes are out there, men and women, in hard scenarios, but they stay so grounded. And honestly, I think our hero, we need to realign heroism to these people who are day in, day out in the world, loving Jesus. Man, they're awesome. Incredible.
Yeah. 100%.
Yep. Very true. All right. 888-564-6173 is the number to call us today. And you know what? Let's go right to the phones. We do have some questions that were submitted online. Maybe we'll get to those a little bit later. But right now, let's talk to you folks. Here is David in Lakewood, listening online on kwave.com. Welcome, David, to Pastor's Perspective.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for taking the call and for the discussion so far about just worshiping the Lord and proclaiming His name. So I have a question about sermon preparation because I'm writing my second sermon in the span of a couple months. I'm an older guy that's just filling in because pastor's on vacation.
That's great.
With Brian a few weeks ago about what I did my first sermon on Mother's Day. So preparing for my second sermon and just asking just some general tips on how to write it, because I don't know that I have the gift of writing. I mean, I think they put me up there because I talk. They want a talker. Hopefully not too much of a babbler, but it's kind of hard to write when I'm a babbler. So just organizing thoughts. And what I'm writing about, if this matters, it's about pain and suffering. It's kind of based on a book written by Timothy Keller, and I'm using Joseph, Jacob's son, as one example of pain and suffering. And one of the things I've heard recently about Joseph, when he was sent by Jacob to go check out his brothers while they were grazing sheep in Shechem, that, he went there and they weren't there. But coincidentally, there was a stranger there that had overheard they were going to Dothan. So then he went on to Dothan. And then after he found them and they decided they were going to do, they wanted to kill him, but I think Judah stuck up and said, no, we're not going to do that. but the other brothers decided to sell him into slavery while Judah was away, so to speak. I'm not sure if that's really indicated in the scripture, but I'm just kind of curious what you guys could add to that, and these coincidences are actually, the sovereign hand of God working as he wills.
Brian, what do you say?
So, yeah, I mean, again, that is great. It's so great that you're filling in. It's great that you're, stepping up, and you're preaching, you're teaching, you're speaking, and writing is another matter in a lot of ways, and I think most of us preachers have a lot of similarities the way we approach things, and we also have differences. So I'll just take, for example, my son, who preaches every Sunday at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. I get to read his sermon notes before, and he always has, 10, 12, 13 pages of notes. And, if I sent you my sermon notes, you would get 3 pages at best, because I'm more of an outline guy, and kind of a heading and then a subheading, and that's kind of the way I've approached my preparation, my sermon preparation. And I go into the pulpit with basically kind of just a skeleton, and I'm trusting the Spirit of God and 40 plus years of experience to fill in the blanks when they come. And so I guess what I would say is, if you don't feel strong, in the writing department, it's okay. You just, jot down some things that'll help you stay on track. Keep, you want to have a starting point and an ending point, and you got your points in between, and then just, get up and open your mouth and trust the Lord will give you. Now, with the Joseph thing, I didn't understand if you were asking if, Joseph is an amazing story. I love the story of Joseph. I loved, every time I read it, I'm touched by it. I have taught it many times. And one of the amazing things about Joseph is he does turn out to be a type of Christ in so many ways. And A.W. Pink was a commentator from years ago who wrote, he did a commentary on Genesis, and in the life of Joseph, I think he did like 20 places where Joseph was a type. Might have been 11, something like that, a lot. And none of them were a big stretch. You looked at him and you thought, wow, yeah, that's exactly it. So with Joseph, of course, like you said, your theme is pain and suffering. Joseph says, you meant it for evil, God meant it for good. But then Jesus is the ultimate example, right? Of evil was intended against him, but God intended it for good, and it turned out for good.
Phil?
Yeah, I'll maybe some thoughts on the preaching part, because I love that you shared, Brian, how Char does it and then how you do it. I'm a manuscripter. I write everything out that I'm going to say. I don't always say everything that I wrote out, but I find it, by typing things out, I memorize where I'm going and what I'm going to say, and I feel more freedom. I'm not looking down. I'm just kind of have this like freedom. But I would say, David, I wouldn't worry about whether you're a good writer or not. I don't think I'm a particularly good writer, but it's just the way that my brain works in order for me to then be able to preach something. So, and this might be controversial to 3 people, but it shouldn't be to most everybody else. You have an opportunity now with the use of AI. You could actually preach your sermon without notes. Just practice the way you would do it. Teach it how you want to do it. And then you could actually let it transcribe it for you. And you could see what your points are and what you were wanting to talk about. It's kind of like reverse note taking in a different direction. But like good advice that I got pretty early on was, do your own study. Make sure you're letting the Spirit, and it sounds like you have, man. Sounds like you got great ideas. Do your own study. And then once you've got a clear sense of how you feel God's leading you, it's okay to like crack open some commentaries and check out what other people are saying, just to, round off your sermon to make sure you're staying within the curbs of evangelical thought. But I think it's a danger to start there and then have your own ideas. It's great when you have your ideas and then you read those commentaries.
I'd say practically speaking, and I don't prepare sermons or anything, but I do a lot of speaking, and sometimes you think of something last minute or as you're just walking to your car or whatever, and sometimes you just rely on your memory. You'll say, oh, that's such a good point. Thank you, Lord. I'm not going to forget that. I'll remember it later. And then later, you forget. At least I do. So have a little notebook or something with you, or put your notes in your phone or something so you don't forget.
That's why I went to the iPad, baby. I'm not kidding, because I can put my notes right into where my sermon is so I don't forget, because I've had that exact thing happen to me, dude, too many times.
Yep. David, thank you so much for your phone call today here on Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by the Talbot School of Theology at Biola University. Leading today requires clarity, courage, and wisdom. Talbot Apologetics equips pastors and leaders with strong arguments and a humble posture for real conversations. You can explore programs at biola.edu/apologetics K-Wave. Look, another call from Lakewood. It's Will. You must be David's neighbor. I don't know. Will, welcome to Pastor's Perspective.
Thank you, pastors, and thank you for your wonderful ministry.
Thank you.
I have a question that's been bothering me here for the last 2 years, but I'll give you a little background on before I give you the questions. My wife and I had to move out of our house because of landlord wanted to sell the land. But then we moved in with my wife's daughter till we was able to find another place. During that time, my wife started accusing me of stealing her money, started accusing me of going with another woman, giving her clothes and to another woman. And things were going real bad. So one night she just told me to leave. And without any questions from me or anything like that, I just left because I was just tired. And that's been 2 years ago. And I was wondering, should I? It doesn't look like any way of that we're getting back together again. She has even changed her phone number. I can't get in touch with her. So my question is that, should I get a divorce and let her go her way and I go mine?
Who else have you consulted about this, Will?
Get a divorce, but she's not going to get it.
Who else have you consulted? Your phone cut out or something, so we didn't hear your response.
I'm sorry.
Who else have you consulted about the divorce?
Just my pastor.
Okay, so you are getting some counsel from your church.
Yes.
And what did your pastor say?
He said for me not to get the divorce, to let her get it. And I know she's not going to get it.
Phil, what would you say to Will?
Beg your pardon?
I would say listen to your pastor, and maybe a little less about the let her get the divorce and more like keep. Again, you're calling into a show. We don't have a lot of information, just what you're sharing. I honestly don't know what's true, what's not. So I'm just saying that out loud, not saying you're lying, but we just don't know. Here's the reality. You call a show like Pastor's Perspective, we're going to say, man, do everything you can to fight for your marriage. There are, of course, instances when divorce is allowed and permitted, but that's not God's, plan. It's not what God wants. So I think, your local pastor is your best support right now as well. I'd really lean back in on that. And I don't want to disagree with him on what he's sharing on that.
Brian?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's obviously a difficult thing. And like Phil said, we don't really know. Again, not questioning the validity of what you're saying, Will. And it does sound, I've heard stories like this, and they're sad. And you can only do so much, So I think if you have prayed and sought the Lord, and you're, if there's just no way of even having a conversation with her, then I think that's something you have to really think and pray through. Maybe again get some pastoral counseling. If it's an irreconcilable situation, which it sounds like it is, but it doesn't mean it is, but it does sound like it is. But if it went on as obviously this is, something like, just say, perhaps she would say, well, I don't ever want to be with you again. I don't want to be married, but I'm not going to get divorced because I don't want to have that on my shoulders, being the one to initiate it. And sometimes people do that. They either just hold out, or they try to force the other one into a situation where they're so miserable they finally, they finally give in and they say, okay, I'm going to get a divorce. But, God doesn't play games like that. God knows what's going on in everybody's heart. So, like Phil said, I think, we want to do everything in our power to try to make it work. But the reality is sometimes there is no way to go forward. And that's where you just have to have a sense that bottom line really is you want to make sure you're following Jesus. That's what you want to do. You just follow him, keep following him. And as long as you're doing that, things will be ultimately okay.
Yeah. Like Brian and Phil both said, we're only hearing one side of the story. And again, Will, we're not saying that you're not being truthful, but we are only hearing one side of the story. But Phil, would you say that based on what we've heard, this is almost would be considered abandonment because she kind of kicked him out of the house and she changed her phone number and everything?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what Brian's saying. This is it. From what we're hearing, it sounds like these are irreconcilable differences. Like it's just nothing's going to change that. And so you can say, well, she has to divorce or not, but it's like you are divorced. it's just I haven't gone through the courthouse. But so based on what we're hearing, I would say that is like an abandonment kind of a situation.
Yeah. Will, thank you so much for calling in today to Pastor's Perspective. It's just about break time. Ron, we will talk to you when we come back. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. And again, not picking on Will, not saying that this is what Will did, but if you have a church, if you have a pastor, maybe not the senior pastor, but if you can get counsel from someone there at your church, or maybe a counselor or therapist or something, and they know you better than we do, especially people at your church. That's why it's good to be connected with someone at your church, some leadership at your church. They know you better than we do. So I think in the past, this has happened where people do check with their pastor and their friends, and 7 different people tell them, yes, do this. And they're not happy with that answer. So, and then they call in hoping that we'll give a different answer. And if we do, they'll say, yeah, that's the answer I wanted to hear, so I'll go with that. No, don't do that. There's wisdom in numbers, wisdom in with your friends, with your family, people who know you best, your pastors, your leaders. So listen to them. Get plugged into a church. You can go to calvarychapel.com, use the church locator feature to find a church near you, get plugged in. And I don't just mean go to church every Sunday. I mean, get plugged in, like volunteer, find a way to serve there at your church, not just to be served, right? So, break time, 888-564-6173. I think I just used up all my words for the second half of the show, too. So, Brian and Phil, you're on your own for the second half. 888-564-6173 is the number to call, and we'll be right back. Maybe I'll drink some more of this water, and that'll give me more words. I don't know. We'll see. We'll come back on Pastor's Perspective. Welcome back to Pastor's Perspective. I'm your host, Brian Perez. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. We've got Pastors Brian Brodersen and Phil Metzger here until 4 o'clock to answer your questions. So call in. If we don't get to the phones fast enough, call back. We've got only one call screener today, and it's the great Michael David. He's doing the best he can getting to your calls. But 888-564-6173. And we're going to talk now to Ron in Trabuco Canyon. Canyon. Welcome to Pastor's Perspective, Ron.
Hello, pastors. Thank you for taking my call. My question was the Gospel of John, chapter 11, in verses 9 and 10, where Jesus says, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? He who walks in the day does not stumble, but he who walks in the darkness does not stumble because he doesn't have the light in him." It's kind of paraphrasing that section. That seems awful sort of cryptic in the flow of that chapter. I was just curious what your perspective on what that actually means.
Yeah, it's almost like we have to back up and read the other 8 verses that preceded these. Brian, what is going on in this chapter, John 11?
Yeah, it's funny. I just finished up reading John 17 today, so I was in 11 a few days back. Yeah, it is a little bit cryptic. Of course, he's saying, let's go. The whole issue is around Lazarus, right, who has died. And Jesus says, let's go that I may wake him. And then one of the disciples, I can't remember if it was Thomas or someone says, "Oh, but Lord, they tried to kill you before, and are you going to go back into Judea again?" And then that's where he makes a statement: "Aren't there 12 hours daylight?" And if anyone, but then isn't it there too that does he repeat that he's the light of the world there? Because of course, John 8:12, Jesus says, "I am the light of the world," but he says it again. And I think it might be around there where he says it again.
Yeah, it is, Brian. It's right there in verse 9. Jesus said, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world."
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it does sound a little, I've wondered that myself. But on the other hand, it just seems like Jesus is saying, it's okay. I know what I'm doing. So, what do you think, Phil?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. And I think, it's always like words like that are a great reminder that sometimes Jesus would say things and even 2,000 years later, we're going, wait, what exactly? like what? I know, I do love the idea that he's connecting, and I taught First John not that long ago. And I love this idea that like when John uses this idea of light and darkness, it's not always only a moral evil and good. Sometimes it's an ignorance and a non-ignorance. Mm-hmm. And I think in one sense, there's this idea here of you got this much time in a day, man, walk in truth, walk in light, walk in what's real. And those who do not, it's a great danger to them. And then you go, but why do you say it right then? Did they need to hear that? And yet John remembered it and he wrote it down years later. So it's a bit of a mystery. Huh?
Is it there, Phil, where he says to, walk while it is day, the night comes, or work while it is day. We must work while it is day, for the night is coming when no one can work. Is it?
No, that's not nope. I don't see that. It's just, because he sees the light of this world. But if one walks at night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. No mention of work in this one. I know which one you're talking about, though.
Yeah. It would be helpful if I had a Bible in front of me.
Yeah, but it seems like here he's definitely pointing to the idea of like, okay, so they're trying to get Jesus to come because Lazarus is sick, and then he doesn't, and there's all this like, why is he not coming? Rabbi, the Jews want to kill you. Why are we going there? And he's like, I have to be about what is the business of my Father while it is day. This is my time. I need to be doing that. And so I'm not sure that this is too big of a mystery here. He's just simply saying like, walk in truth, walk in light, and that he is the light.
What do you think, Ron?
Is it kind of along the lines of, Jesus is the light, he's following the will of the Father, walk with him, and, you're fulfilling God's will? Kind of those lines, so it's okay to go with him to Judea?
Yeah, I think it's definitely because common sense was don't go where they want to kill you. And then he's like, yeah, but I'm walking in light. I am the light of the world. Like I'm doing what is my Father's will. So I think that's a very, very good assessment.
Well, I thank you so much for the input. I actually am teaching it. I taught it last weekend and I said it that way. And then I thought, wait, is that right?
Hey, call us before.
So I'm teaching it again this weekend, and at least I feel like I have some clarity, though it's not the totally clear passage. So I appreciate the input.
Yeah, great, and we're glad that we can help. Phil, I'm sure you've had this, and I've had so many times where I've actually gone into a sermon with a little bit of maybe fuzziness on a point and have the Lord clarify it during the message. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, that's it right there. I love that when that happens.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I hate when I go in on the opposite and think I know it exactly. And then as I'm preaching it, you're like, wow, that wasn't so clear.
Yeah, I've had those as well.
Now, some people.
The first one is great. Sorry, Brian Perez, I didn't mean to cut you off. That first one is, you just know the Spirit's leading. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Some people might wonder, like in Ron's case, and we don't know if, how often he teaches, but he said he taught last weekend. He's teaching again this weekend. And people might say, well, why doesn't he just choose a different passage? Why does he have to teach out of this? Why doesn't he teach something that's a little more recognizable or something that he might have more knowledge in. But I guess like when you teach through the Bible, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, you've got to tackle these. You can't just skip them, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're like a guest teacher every once in a while, then it's awesome. You can pick whatever you want. And I'd say go for the home run. I preach every week, so I'm always going for singles and doubles at best. I'm not swinging for the fences all the time. I'm just like, Lord, here's what I'm ready. Here we go. But I also think like when you preach all the time, you kind of can't avoid it. But I will say, funny story. And I know this has happened to anybody who sat under Chuck Smith. I would be so excited because like, oh, he's going to get to this passage tonight, and I'm so excited because we're going to dig into this thing. And then Chuck would read it and say, and let's continue. And I'm like, oh, you dirty dog, you got me on that one.
Yes, it's an old trick.
I've used it many times since then, so it's great. Yeah.
Ron, thanks for calling us today. Oh, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? I mean, since we're kind of on a preacher role here, the thing, it's really fascinating how, and preachers would know this, like you might preach something, say one weekend, and you feel like, okay, well, that's it. I got through that passage, man. That was, however you felt about it, but you're like, okay, I got through that passage, and we're moving on, and then you kind of get into preparation throughout the week, and you're like, oh, wait, we're not moving on yet. Oh, we're circling back around. Oh no, I didn't see this coming, and then, but the Lord leads, and that's, they call it the romance of preaching, but there is this Spirit-led thing that is a real thing that preachers know, where, God is actually guiding you, and it's fascinating. Yeah. So fascinating to have that experience. I love it.
Yep.
You're listening to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by the Talbot School of Theology at Biola University. Faithful engagement starts with thoughtful formation. Talbot Apologetics forms Christians who reason clearly and communicate with grace in a complex world. Truth with clarity, engagement with compassion. Discover more at biola.edu/apologetics. K-Wave. 888-564-6173 is our number. Brian Perez here with Brian Broderson and Phil Metzger. And let's go to Gardena. Speak with Yoannette, who's listening to us on K-Wave 107.9. Thank you, Yoannette, for calling 888-564-6173.
Hi, pastors. Hope you guys are having a great day. My question was, because I was looking at this the other day in the Bible, like when I ask the questions and a lot of verses pop up. Now, this is not about Job. I'm wondering why when Satan got banished from heaven, all right, and then and another time they had, like in the celestial realm in heavens, they had like a meeting. All the angels gathered together, and of course God was there. And then guess who shows up? Satan shows up to that meeting there and joins them. After that, I don't know what happened, but my question is, boy, if you're banished, how were you allowed to get back up there again and join that meeting?
Phil Metzger, what say you?
Well, I think the way that the scriptures describe this, especially Job 1 and 2, is that while Satan fell, Lucifer fell from heaven, the idea of being banished is not necessarily accurate at that moment. Satan, obviously that's the throne of God. God allowed Satan to still have access to him. And it seems very limited capacity. It seems like it was not, just whenever he wanted. It was always at God's will. But it seems that the devil still had access to the throne of God to speak to God. And then in that conversation that happened that we read about in Job 1 and 2, kind of expresses that. And so now later in the scriptures, we're going to see Satan cast into fire for eternity. But that is not the case yet. And it was not the case then.
Brian, what do you say?
Basically, it was his will.
Yeah, I think that, I think that still to this day, Satan, seems to still have access, but there is coming a point, and Revelation chapter 12 tells us about this event where Satan is permanently, I think, barred from the heavenly realm and the presence of God. And it says there, he's come down to the earth, he's full of fury because he knows that his time is short. And so, yet up until this point, in many places in Scripture, we think of an interesting passage in the prophet Zechariah, where it talks about the high priest and it talks about Satan there to condemn him before God. And then, of course, you were referring to the book of Job, where the sons of God come before the Lord and Satan comes with them. And so, there's a lot of things that we don't totally understand at this point. We have glimpses here and there. We have pictures. I think we can build a pretty good understanding of that realm of evil spirits and what they're capable of and what they're occupied with. But there's details that we just simply do not know.
Yoannette, thank you so much for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. Let's go to Bob in Garden Grove, and then Bill, you're next, so don't hang up, Bill. Bob, hi. What's your question for Brian and Phil today?
How are you doing? Thank you. Thank you for letting me have a pastor talk show. Question was, I heard about David Jeremiah mentioned about 1,000 years God's going to establish his kingdom on this earth, wondering what's going to happen with it, where the devil's going to be.
Where what?
The devil?
Where the devil's going to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, the wonderful thing is when you...
Anyway.
Yeah, when you read about that, in Revelation chapter 20, 6 times it tells us that Christ is going to reign 1,000 years on the earth. And preceding that, it tells us that an angel came with a great chain, and he bound the serpent and he cast him into the bottomless pit, that he would not be able to harass the nations for 1,000 years. So he's basically going to be imprisoned for 1,000 years, to answer your question. And then at the end of the 1,000 years, according to Revelation chapter 20, he's going to be briefly released from prison, and he's going to be able to foster a large rebellion once again against God. But this one will be very short-lived. The Lord will not allow it to go on for any length of time. He will be able to gather a great multitude. They'll come up against the holy city, and then the Lord will banish them. And then he, the serpent, Satan, will be cast into the lake of fire with the beast and the false prophet who preceded him there. And they will be tormented day and night forever.
Phil Metzger, does that mean that there will be no sin or temptation during those 1,000 years? What do you think?
No, I mean, the Bible says that there still will be for those who have lived into that season, not those that are redeemed. And it's an interesting phenomenon because, for 1,000 years on the earth, we're going to see what the world is like without, for that 1,000 years, like a demonic influence directly. But you realize, I don't need the devil to sin. I still have me. I'm still there. And that's really that 1,000 years. There's still human nature that will exist. So there will still be sin.
Bob, thank you for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. Brian, I don't know if you wanted to add something else to that? No? Okay. Bill in Ontario, listening on K-Wave 107.9. Thanks for calling 888-564-6173. What's your question for Brian and Phil?
Hi. I just been thinking about this for a while, and I don't know. But I'm a Christian, and I totally believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I've never seen him in the flesh, but I am 100% with him. I don't understand why Judas, who walked with him, who saw him do his miracles and heard his word, why would he
betray Jesus?
Betray him? Why would he betray him? I don't understand that. I mean, we don't see Jesus. We don't walk with him. And I know, there's millions of people in this world who will die for him. And I will too. But I'm getting all emotional. Why did Judas do that? I don't understand.
Phil?
Well, I love your passion about it, dude. Love it. And you may not love my answer, but we kind of agree with each other. Like, I don't know why he would do it either. Now, the Bible, there's a few indications, but none of them really like kind of validate it all. It's interesting. We've been in the Gospel of John a lot today, and I'll mention one more verse in John. After Jesus rose from the dead and he had this encounter with Thomas, who was doubting, and Jesus said this, I'll read it to you in John chapter 20, verse 31. Verse 29. Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. And that's who we are. We're the people who we have not seen, but we've believed. And Jesus says, you're blessed for that. So you're in a really blessed situation right now because you believe in Jesus, even though you haven't seen him. There's an interesting thing all throughout the Gospel of John, and that is that John keeps referring to the miracles Jesus does as a sign. He doesn't call them miracles, he calls them signs. Why? Because we're supposed to understand that a miracle alone doesn't deepen a person's faith. It doesn't establish a person's faith. It is something that is meant to point us to Jesus. So whether we see a sign or not, we can still see Jesus and still believe in Jesus. So plenty of people experienced miracles in the New Testament and didn't believe in Jesus. And Judas was one of them, sadly.
What do you think of that, Bill?
I heard what he said, but I still just can't comprehend why he would do that when he was there. He was right with him, and know how good he was.
Yeah.
Well, that's on one level, Bill. That's beautiful from the standpoint of your tender heart toward Jesus, which is so sweet. And on the part of Judas, it's a testimony to the evil and hardness of the human heart that can also be present in someone's life. And we see a lot of that today. We see people who are just very, very antichrist. I saw this some stuff on social media where I guess it was a pride parade or something this past weekend or whatever. I mean, these guys are carrying, these signs like "Not today, Jesus," and basically just, publicly making a statement: Jesus, you're not welcome here. Jesus, stay away. And you think, gosh, how tragic that anyone would take that kind of a posture against the Lord. But we know that it's true, and we know that ultimately that's why there will be a great judgment that will come. And in the end, every knee will bow, regardless of what one might say. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father.
Bill, thanks for your phone call today here on Pastor's Perspective. I think we can squeeze in one more before the show ends, maybe two more, who knows? John in Aliso Viejo, thanks for calling 888-564-6173. What's your question?
Hey, thank you. So I was just pondering, the thought when Christ on the cross says, "Why have you forsaken me?" And then, that pointing us to Psalm 22, and then seeing the words in the Psalm, "I'm not a man, but a worm," and then the Hebrew text that translating to the crimson worm, and then kind of the life cycle of that worm itself. Do you guys have a perspective on that statement? I'm not a man, but a worm in the Psalm.
Psalm 22:6. Brian, what do you say?
Well, yeah, I think that it's essentially, Jesus. It's prophetic, of course. It's Jesus from the cross, and he's expressing just the utter dehumanization that he is experiencing. I am a worm and no man. So, a worm is just, a powerless little creature that is just crushed under the foot of anybody. And I think that's really what Jesus is expressing there. Now, the idea about the certain type of worm and the crimson color that it let off and all, there could be something to that. That's sort of speculative and, reading something into the text. I don't think that's what the text is talking about. I think the text is just simply talking about the dehumanization that Christ experienced on the cross. But, perhaps there is something to this other idea about the specific kind of worm and about, the crimson excrement that comes from them. Phil, you've heard that. I mean,
oh my gosh.
I remember, decades ago, people talking about that. And
oh my gosh, John Corson, he was the one with all his incredible bravado, and he taught this, and I was at the edge of my seat, what's going to happen, and it was incredible. And you said, though, certainly there could be something to all that, but it is a little bit more on the kind of speculative nature. However, the very idea of Jesus this prophetic idea of Jesus is no man. He's the lowest, he's reached the bottom. And then I love what Paul says when he talks about that in Romans 5, that in essence, and I'm just kind of summarizing for time's sake, on Jesus's worst day, he saved the entire world. On the day when he was a worm, everybody had opportunity to be born again. All sins were forgiven through the cross. It's what a bad day. Holy wow. You know what I mean? And but yeah, man, I've heard that one, and I thought it was locked 100%. And then I was wait, I read a little bit more. I was oh, maybe it's not 100%. Still a cool story, but maybe not 100% there.
Yes.
All right, John, thanks for your phone call. We're out of time on today's episode of Pastor's Perspective. If you called in today but couldn't get on, here's a free pass. You can use it next time we're here, which will be tomorrow between 3 and 4. Just tell the call screener that we couldn't get to your call before the end of the show, and we'll try to put you on sooner. But, of course, you should call sooner as well. Don't wait till near the end of the show, because there's a better chance of you getting on if you call in sooner. So thank you so much for watching and listening. We're going to archive today's episode as we archive all of our episodes on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And there's a few others too, I think, but I haven't verified that yet, but I'll try to verify that soon. And we'll talk to you next time here on Pastor's Perspective. For Brian Broderson and Phil Metzger, I'm Brian Perez. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye.